because of you. I want to thank you and praise you too. Your grace and mercy brought me through. Oh, Jesus, your grace, mercy brought me. I'm living this moment because of you.
Happy Friday. You are listening to the She Heals radio show. I am your host, Whitney J. It is Friday, July 5th, 2019. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, click the like buttons, leave us a comment, and share it to your page. Hey, Breezy. Hey, Suzanne. Love you guys. My apologies for being so late. We were having some unexpected technical difficulties, but delay is not denial. So in the interest of time, we are going to flip the script today. We're going to have our special guest first, and then I will come in on the second half for my She Heals Inspiration segment. Can you turn me up just a little bit? Thanks. Shout out to Quincy for working through some problem solving, him and Jalen getting things together. I am super excited for this show. It's nothing, of course, the enemy would try to mess up this show because this was probably the show I was the most excited about. It is always amazing when you know someone that is your inspiration. You know, it's one thing to admire people you see on TV and stuff, but it's one thing to know someone personally that you're inspired by. And our guest today on the She Heals Radio Show is definitely one of my personal inspirations. She is my cousin. She is a talented singer, writer. She does actress. She does it all. And we are just going to hop right into it. So I want to welcome to the She Heals Radio Show, Miss Justine J. Hall. Hey, Justine. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm just in awe at seeing you and Quincy do your thing.
Yes. Today was definitely out of the norm, but it is all good. It is all good. And so our theme for today is following your dreams. And I know that sounds kind of, cliche, but I think there is a lot of, there are so many people that have dreams and it sounds great, but they don't know what to do to get started, or they get discouraged within the process. So I thought you would be an excellent person to come and talk about that, because you are actively pursuing your dreams and it required you to make some big moves. And so talk to us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and how you got started.
Well, I'm an actress, singer, writer, and it has definitely been a journey. And I have made huge moves, but also huge sacrifices. So I think the first thing for anyone that's especially in the entertainment business, when you're trying to go into that, is that you have to really, really want it, because you're going to have more downs than you have ups.
Absolutely.
And the small little ups that you have to celebrate those. Even if it's not with anyone else, you have to treat yourself to something special, because those small wins always are a next journey to the next win and the next win. And you also have to learn and educate yourself in all different facets of the business, because just doing one thing nowadays is not going to help you.
So you have to have more than one skill, is what you're saying.
So if you're a singer, you have to learn how to write. You should learn how to produce. And the same thing, if you're an actress, you should write your own story, is what I've been doing. And was one of my biggest moves was to write my own story, my own play, so that I could tell a story that reflected upon stuff that I've seen, or that someone has been through, that I've witnessed. Because we all have, Oprah Winfrey said a long time ago, and everyone has a story. And we all really do. And so we, instead of complaining about a story that we may see that we didn't like, a movie or a play, then we should write our own.
Absolutely.
Take that now. But I started, I grew up in Maryland. I grew up in Frederick, Maryland. And when people say, well, how do I get my daughter or my son started in the business? And I always say you have community theater right in your backyard, right in your hometown.
Yes.
So I would put my child into community theater and community dance and a dance that put them in choirs in school, because all of these things are teaching you the basics. If you're in choir in school, then you're learning how to sing different parts: soprano, baritone, alto. You're learning all the different parts. You're learning how to sing chorus. You're learning how to sing background. You're learning how to sing. Of course, in church, in the church choir, you learn the same thing.
Absolutely.
If you're in community theater, you're learning how to be a part of a chorus. You're learning how to move set pieces. You're learning about lighting. You're learning about seeing how a director directs. You're learning about how to play as a team and, work as a team.
Absolutely.
So you're learning all these things. And also, especially in Maryland, we're in Baltimore, you have tons of shows that shoot here. So what you can do is sign up to be an extra on any of these shows that are shooting here or any of these movies. If you just go to Google and Google casting directors in Baltimore or whatever, and you sit and you're an extra, you're learning how TV works. So sit back and watch and see what the cameras are doing, see what the director is doing, see what the actors are doing. Because you may realize after you're sitting down on set for 13 or 14 hours as an extra, that is something that you do not want to do. Okay?
I don't know if I could sit that long.
Right.
So you're right.
You may realize that being out in the rain and the sleet and the snow and the cold and acting like it's not cold to you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Acting like it's normal weather, or acting like, it's cold, but I'm supposed to walk past this door like I'm like normal, and I'm doing it now 15 times.
Yeah.
And we've been sitting outside and I'm tired. You may realize that the film business is not something that you want to do.
Absolutely.
And working in community theater, you may realize, you know what, I really don't like this. Because if you're not willing to be background and you're not willing to be a chorus member, or at least understand how that works, then really it's not for you, because you have to know you have to understand how all of that works to appreciate it. That's how I feel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that you brought up a great point, that I think some people have a vision of, this is what I want to do and I can only do this one thing.
Right.
And they think there's like a straight track to get there, when there are so many other things that you kind of do need to learn, like you said, and be a student first before you conquer it. And so talk to me a little bit about, you grew up in Frederick, Maryland, but talk to me about your transition and how you got to where you are now.
Well, people always say, Justine, I admire that you've always stayed true to being an entertainer. And I have. Even when I was in Maryland, I was working a full-time job. I was in a band, the Rolex Band. Shout out to the Rolex Band who's at the Hard Rock Cafe tonight. I was in a band. I was in the Bone Daddy Band, a blues band. I had my own band, the Justine J. Hall Band. So I always was in a band, which made it more difficult to do theater, because people, as a band, we were booked almost every weekend at Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it was hard for me to do theater. But I still was able to do film and TV that was local in the local area. And then, after working one day, I had lost my father, I had lost a good friend, and I was really depressed. Like, oh my God, I lost 2 people back to back.
Yeah.
So I was going home and doing the same thing, going to work, going to the gym, coming home, making something to eat, going to sleep. And I thought, there's got to be more to life than this. And this isn't me. I need adventure. I thought, if I live this life, I want an adventure. I want to see the world. I want to meet different people and different cultures, and listen to different types of music and dance to the beat of the drum and the sand.
Yeah.
I wanted to live my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to make this move. I have to do something different. So I was at work, and one of my best friends, Kim, had already transitioned to New York. And she was like, well, I lived in it's like a woman's residency in New York. And she said, look up some and see. And I didn't know anything about this, but they have the Volunteers of America has a women's residency there, the YMCA. Some things aren't just women, it's male and female residencies. And it's like college dorms. So like your breakfast and your dinner is included, and you have a dorm and you have your own room, and then you go out in the hallway, you have a bathroom that you share, all these different things. Several of them are in New York. And
oh wow, I never knew that.
Right, I didn't either. So I had called one called the Brandon, and that's the Volunteers of America. And you had to have 2 people write you letters of references. You had to make such a pretty big deposit to even hold your spot. And the lady says, okay, well, we got your information. I want you to know that it's usually a 2-year wait list. Okay. So I said, oh, shoot. Okay, well, that gives me 2 years to really prepare myself for moving to New York. I'll go on the weekends or I'll go once a month and I'll figure out where I want to live. And I kid you not, the next day, it was like a Friday. The next day I went to work and I was leaving and I got a phone call on my way to the subway. And it was a New York area code. And I was like, oh my goodness, what do they want? So I went back inside. I was like, nah, I got to take this phone call while I'm inside. So I went back inside. And I was answering the phone. She said, I just want you to know we have a room that became available today. So I need to know if you can take this room today. Because if not, I'm going to give it up. Because nobody that was in front of you could take it. Because they were all like, I can't make this transition in one day. She said, just let me know because I got to keep going through the list. So she had called all these people before me before she got to me. And something in me just said, just say yes. And I was like, oh, I know God did not do this to me.
Yes, that was way to move, right?
One day, so I went, yeah, I want it. So one day I went back to my friend Mimi and went back to her office. Oh my God, they just told me I had a room. And she's like, oh, well, girl, you better put your 2 weeks in.
Yeah, you're moving.
You're moving. So I said yes. And so I went home and I had the weekend to let it all sit. I told my band what happened. It was like, you got to do what you got to do. I was like, yes. So I basically had like to transition my life. It took me like a month. So I was really going back and forth every weekend, like trying to sell stuff in my place that I had here, trying to, train people for my next job, who was coming in to take my job. And I really just didn't know when I was going to go to New York because I had no time to really go to New York and settle in. I just knew that I had to get rid of everything here because I could not put anything in this room. I had to get rid of all my furniture, everything. And I had to get rid of all my clothes. I was just trying to put what I could in storage, thinking I could keep this stuff, but I just had to go. So I went to New York and I lived in this dorm room, which was a transition for me. I was living by myself, and here I am now sharing a bathroom. I thought, oh my God, this is so disgusting. And I was like, okay, what am I doing? Some people were like, I can't believe you're doing this. I mean, you're leaving this life that you have here. You have a good job. You have your family's here. Everything's here, and you're leaving it. And I'm like, nah, this is not the life I'm supposed to live. It's really not. I know deep down, I'm not supposed to get up and go to work at this government agency,
right? And
come back and that be it. That's not me. It's just not. And so I was in New York and I was living my life, and I was like, for the first 3 months or so I wasn't working. I'm like, oh shoot, I'm starting to run out of money. I better get a job. So I was auditioning, and I had always went to New York and auditioned, but my training that I got here in Maryland, in Frederick, Maryland, was the top training. I trained with some really good directors and theater companies in Maryland. And I want people to know. People always think, oh, I got to send my child to New York. No, right in Frederick they have Julie Herber, Steve Bomango, rest in peace. Julie Herber is part of the Maryland Ensemble Theater Company. I mean, I did work with her. I did work with the Landless Theater Company out of D.C., Andrew Bogman. So I work with some great people, and I learned a lot how to be in auditions and be quiet and be centered, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how to do all of that. And so I auditioned for this show called Girls Night the Musical, and I got it. So thank God I didn't have to get a job. Well, actually, no. I tell you what I did. I went to a temporary agency, and I worked at a temp agency for this bougie, like a Bath and Body Works, but it's not Bath and Body Works. I can't remember what it was called. But I worked for a high-end store like that. I worked in the background for the director of the art, the person that made the stuff that you see.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of neat. So I worked from them in the morning from like 9 to 1. And then I would go home and eat. And then I would go work overnight at Victoria's Secrets on unloading off the truck. So I went from working at this government agency to unloading a daggone truck at Victoria's Secrets.
By any means necessary, though, right?
By any means necessary. And then I got this job for this musical tour, which ended up coming to Baltimore. So it was fun because I got to come home. And then it went off Broadway. So that was so huge for me to have that. So like that's an up, right? So you celebrate that up. And then that tour is over with and you're like auditioning and you're not getting in. And I'm going to tell you, when you are an actor and you're in this business, you're going to get told no more than you are going to be told yes. And you have to get thick skin. Because some people will start singing halfway through, or you'll start doing your monologue halfway through and go, thank you. really means thank you, bye. I mean, not what we're looking
Yeah,
for.
wow.
But don't just get discouraged, because sometimes it's about look. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, we want her to play this person's daughter, and she just doesn't have the look that we want because we've already booked this person.
Right.
Right? So
And to
they're
make it look
trying to
real,
they're
yeah.
trying to make it look real. So it's not sometimes not even about talent, it's about look. So I wasn't finding anything, so I had to get a job, and then I had to go work at Macy's. I worked at Macy's part-time. And I had to start my own cleaning business because that wasn't bringing in the money. And I thought, what can I do that I can make my own money, but also be able to say, I can't do this today because I have an audition.
Right.
And just thank God, I was like, one thing I know I can do is I can clean. So I started cleaning people's homes, cleaning people's toilets to pay my rent. Okay?
Listen.
All right. I did that. And I mean, that's a down because you feel like you having your own business, but I'm trying to pay rent. So literally, I would be up from like 6 o'clock in the morning to like 10 o'clock at night, busting my butt working. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is not what I thought God sent me to do.
Yeah.
And I get teary because I think that's difficult,
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And you're like, oh my God, I'm living in this house. I finally got an apartment by myself. It was so expensive because I'm in New York City. I'm working sun up to sundown, and I'm not performing. So you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
And so you're asking God to show me a way. And he said, you can't live by yourself. You got to get a roommate. So that's what I did. I moved out. I got a roommate. And then the money was easier for me. So I was able to get my website up, get my headshots, because all of that is expensive. And if you're an actor, you should have a website. Because in this business, somebody says, what's your name? And they want to look you up online immediately.
Yeah.
So let me tell you something. If you're saying you're an actor and you're saying you're in this business and you don't even have a website, you got to check yourself, because you should have a website.
Absolutely.
All of these things are life lessons. And being in New York pushes you faster because there's more people out there doing what you're doing. So you're able to learn from them. And you got to have a crew that believes in you.
Yes.
And you got to have a crew that is working just as hard as you're working. Because I'm telling you, and I tell any young person this, if you're in a crew and there's lackadaisical people in that crew, you're going to be just like them.
You guys
They'll be
switch your
just like,
crew
if there's
up.
no hustlers in your crew, then you don't know how to hustle. And you always just going to just live your life day to day and just be like, oh, okay, this is all I need and all I want. That's fine if that's for you. But if you want more, you got to be around people who also want more.
Absolutely. And I just know, I remember a few years back, you were in the play Sisters. Is that what it's called? And we all came, well, it was about 30 of us. I think we got a coach bus and we came up to see you. And I just remember, for me, just, you're my cousin. So just seeing you, singing at the family reunion, singing around Frederick, and then to see you off Broadway at this play, it was an amazing experience.
Right. But see, people don't know, the connections that you have to make and the networking parties you have to go to and be about all of this. And then when I did that, it was only for 2 weekends. And let me tell you about that. I did not have a rehearsal with the ladies at all. I stepped on that stage for the first time. It's the first time I met them. It's the first time
Wow, you would have never known.
I did. And they sent me, I learned how to do that show by the tape that they sent me. So I had one vocal rehearsal with the vocal director. I had one dance rehearsal with the lady whose place I was filling in that weekend. She, God bless her, so she helped me with the dancing. And then I worked with the stage manager on what sets I had to move and when. And then I just went on and I did the show. So people think, okay, well, you got the... no, I didn't have a rehearsal.
Yeah, I never would have known that.
You just had to go in.
It looked like you were well rehearsed and you fit right in. But one of the things that you were saying that I just kept hearing is, I think people see the lights and they see the excitement and they don't see the process.
They don't see the process.
Did you ever have a moment where you were like, maybe I should just go back home?
Oh yeah, during that moment where I was living by myself and facing eviction and being late on my rent and eating tuna fish and cup of noodles, you're thinking, what am I doing here? And then, but my drive that I've always had, that had to come from God, is the only thing that kept me going.
Yeah.
And knowing that I'm talented, knowing that I am talented, I know I'm supposed to be here. You can't tell me that I'm not supposed to be here.
Right.
So it's just not my time yet. So what do I need to do? Let me take this step back and let me get more money in my pocket so that I can put money in my business. And that's when
Absolutely.
things change. When you start saying, I'm looking at myself as a brand, as an artist, as my own business, and instead of putting my money in everybody else's business and working myself to death for everybody else, I got to work for me. And so that's when you start investing in yourself. You invest in your own website, you invest in your pictures, you invest in your business. And then then is when I realized I have to write my own story.
Yeah.
Because these auditions that I'm going on aren't reflecting what stories that I know and characters that I know. And so I started writing my own story, and I said, I'm a Virgo, and so you said, you know how that is. We're perfectionists. And I said, I really need to make sure what I'm writing is correct, and I'm doing it the correct way. Because we all can say, I'm going to write a movie, I'm going to write a show, and just writing, but there's a correct way that this
there's
has
order.
to be. There's order.
Yeah.
And so I put a lot of money into getting a writing coach, April Yvette Thompson. And she helped me, and I finished my first solo show, and that's submitting now for developmental work. And now I'm writing another show, working title, but it's going to be a short screenplay. So doing all these things, writing is another avenue that I had to conquer to write the roles that I want to see.
Yeah, writing is no joke.
It's no joke.
It's
and it was
no
very
joke.
therapeutic for me, and very good at finding things that you never knew existed in your life that you needed to work on, because you write these characters and they're really subconsciously other characters within you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you end up writing about those people. But I've had great success. I've been off Broadway twice. God bless. I've been in some TV shows where I've been able to, even if it was one line, like Blue Bloods, I had one line, but hey, that one line is a success, it's a win.
Absolutely.
And you have to celebrate that win. I've had a web series that I starred in called The Demazis. So the wins, people see you, that you're ringing the bell for NASDAQ, like, oh my God, or your poster is on a big building in New York City.
Yeah.
They're thinking, oh my God, that means you have money, you're rich, and you're famous. No, that means I'm still broke.
Right.
And I'm still trying to find the next job, the next journey.
Yeah.
But now that I'm writing, it's a different control. Because even though when you walk to the auditions, you're like, yeah, okay, well, it is what it is, because I'm writing my own show. So either you're going to have me in your show or you're not.
Right.
I'm writing my own stuff, so I'm all good.
Yeah.
You have a different type of power when you're writing your own stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, there's ups and there's downs. You got to be prepared to go through those downs. And if you're not willing to be broke at some point, and not be in a relationship, because being as a female, and trust me, even men go through this. It's hard to be in a relationship because you go on tour, and you're on tour for a year or 2 years, and you're only in New York for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Some guys don't understand that. And some people don't understand that if you're in a show, basically shows are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday matinee,
Yeah.
And so, man, I can only see you Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but I work. So then I got to get up early when you can sleep in. So then it's like, okay, well, this is not going to work, because I'm not going to give up my career and what I believe in for this relationship. So you still have to work on, finding someone in your life that is like, so they're usually in the business, or they're entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that get it. It is what it is.
It's tough. There's so many layers to it. And I think that so many people get in the moment, in any situation, whether it's that they want to be in the entertainment industry or any other industry, the moment a little bit of opposition comes, they tend to stop, and they tend to, just say, oh, well, maybe, let me just go back to what's familiar, what's comfortable. I know for me, being an author, I thought I was going to write a book, because I've always wanted to write a book since second grade.
Right.
And that was it. I never thought about the speaking engagements that were coming. I never thought about having a radio show, like all of these things. And I've had to do a faith walk with God when he has presented certain opportunities in front of me, because it's so unfamiliar, but I had to step into it and say, God, if this is your will and you put this in me, you gave me something to say, and this is the place you want me to say it, I'm going to do it. And I think a lot of times we have a preconceived notion of how it's going to look.
Right.
And I think that is where people get caught up. If someone is listening to the show right now and maybe they are in transition, they're trying to transition to whatever it is that God has given them, and they're feeling that discouragement, what would you tell them?
Believe.
Yeah.
You gotta believe. You gotta believe in your faith, whatever that is, and you gotta believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter to me. It is, if you're, whatever it is that's getting you to God, just get to God.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, it gets you there. And sometimes we got to fall all the way down to get us to God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And sometimes we got to be humbled or whatever. But you got to have some type of faith in your life. You got to have something.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. But as long as you have something that makes you spread love to yourself and to everybody else,
Yeah.
then you're good. And I'll argue with people about that for the rest of my years. I'm like, listen, as long as you showing me love, I got love for you, and love will come back to you.
Yeah.
I believe that truly. And so you have to believe. You got to look at yourself in the mirror and know you belong. Now, some people believe that, but they're not out there educating themselves about anything. So they don't realize that they may have some faults that they need to work on in their singing or in their writing or in their acting journey. So you can't be the only one that says that. You really do have to go get training.
Yeah, be teachable, be coachable.
You have to be coachable. You have to learn. There's always a lesson. And in writing, you know, people will take my play and they'll say, you need to work on this. Or, I didn't get this, or I didn't understand that. And I've had to step back and let myself know that it's not personable. It's somebody that really took this journey before me, that has a show on Broadway, that has produced movies before, that have gone to Sundance, and they're telling me the truth.
Yeah.
So maybe, I remember a casting director said, sometimes you got to sleep on it. Because some people will say, well, you needed to work on this, you need to work on that. And immediately, sometimes I'll go, you know what, they're right. Then sometimes I'll be like, they're wrong, they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah. And I'll go home and I'll go to sleep. And the next week I'll be like, I'm going to try it. And then it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to sleep on stuff and understand that what somebody is telling you is the truth.
Yeah.
You know, if a month later, if you wake up and you go, no, I don't believe that, then guess what? Then you really don't believe that. And go for it. Go for what you believe in on that moment. But believe in yourself and believe in your faith and be coachable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's so many things that you just said that we can apply in every area of our life, not just our dreams or our gifts and our talents, but the biggest thing is being coachable and having the right supports around you. We just came off of our family reunion. We're kind of still in the midst of our family reunion. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I love about our family is that we are very supportive of each other. We will show up. If something's going on, we will show up, but we also hold each other accountable.
Right.
And it's very important. We were joking. I was joking with some of our other cousins yesterday, and they're like, you got to have some thick skin to be in this family because they're going to tell you like it is, no cut cards. But I love it because you do need that accountability. You don't need people in your space that secretly want to see you fail, or are low-key haters, or people that tell you yes and think everything about you is absolutely amazing and never, can be super honest, because no one is perfect. Your circle is important. Who you surround yourself around is important. Talk to that a little bit as we close out the segment, your circle.
Well, your circle is important, and I'm blessed because I have a family that's supportive, and I also have my crew, the posse, that is very supportive. So when you are, and I think when you grow up in a family like ours, you know how to choose friends well. You choose friends that are similar to your family, and they become your sister friends or your male, your brother friends. So you have those, and it's very important. And I tell those who don't have family, they don't have family, that they do need friends, a support system. Some people think that they can do it on their own. I'm going to tell you right now, there's nobody got to anywhere in this business on their own, especially in the entertainment business. You know someone that told you about someone, that hooked you up with someone, and then networking. And you find the right people. Especially in this business, because this business, you're going to find people who are your friends, but they're really using you to get where they need to go. And if they don't think you can help them get to where they need to go, then you're not worthy of being their friend. And they'll move on to the next person. So you got people right now that they'll follow somebody on Facebook and social media, and they'll like everything that this person who does not know anything about them, they'll be all about this person because they want to know this person, they want to get to know this person, they want to be seen by this person, right?
Right.
And they don't think that because you're not in a position to help them that they should connect with you.
Right.
Right? So it's all about being around the person who's hot right now. And it may not be anybody knows, it might be who's hot in your business in New York or in Harlem or in Brooklyn or in Baltimore, who's hot right there. And they push everybody else to the side because they want to be down with who's hot. Right? And not necessarily see what you have to give to the party. That's not a person for you. And you have to be able to see that from afar.
Absolutely.
Right? You want to be around the people, Andre DeShields said on the Tony Awards, you know, you want to be around the people, and I'm not saying it exactly how he said. He's from Baltimore. Big ups to Baltimore. He said you want to be around people that eyes light up when you walk in the room.
Yeah.
And that's true. So you got to find those friends, and they can be far and few between. I was blessed to have friends that I've been friends with since I was a kid. So in New York, yes, I have friends, but it's not like I'm like, oh, I need y'all, because listen, I got family and I got friends that been by my side for years.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yes, and they ain't going nowhere.
They ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
So I'm not in New York begging everybody to be by my side.
Yeah.
Let's not get that twisted.
And I think it's important too to know who you can share what with, and being discerning about, you know, the things that you're working on, because there are people that, like you said, they can have an ulterior motive, and so
Right.
it's very important that you have some discernment, and you know, everyone that's around you isn't your friend, and sometimes things change, you know, and that's real too. And just because the relationship doesn't change, that may have changed, the love could still be the same.
Yes,
So I think it's just important to keep your circle tight. One last question I wanted to ask you. You know, I just heard you about the sacrifices that you made,
right,
and that you're continuing to make, because it's a continuous process. Right. You know, I think that some people, you know, I just know in my own journey of how God is calling me out of a lot of things that I'm familiar with into a lot of unknown. Yeah. It's hard to let go of that. But what do you do aside from your faith? What do you do to keep you grounded in those moments, to keep you focused when you're really in those moments of like, man, okay, I'm doing this, but I really want to be doing that? What do you do to stay focused and grounded?
Oh, I do several things. It depends on my mood. I'll turn on some music that pumps me up, and I'll just dance to it. I'll just dance to the music, and automatically it just picks my energy up. Prayer, meditation. I'm learning to meditate right now, and meditation, and some people are looking at that like, what is that? Listen, it is about staying focused.
It's mindfulness.
And it's mindfulness, and it's allowed peacefulness to come into my life when the chaos is there. You know, sitting there, you know, and just letting go of everything and being able to let your mind go into a space that's empty is a beautiful thing. And not, you know, it really is so beautiful just to have nothing on your mind and be
yes,
and just be at peace, right?
Absolutely.
Finding that moment, working out, exercise. I changed my diet. I'm no longer I'm a pescatarian. I only eat fish. Changing your diet makes you feel better about your body. It makes it makes you don't feel as weighed down. Other things I've tried, I like to eat, so I'll go out for real, and I'll get a really good meal, and I'll feel better. You know?
Just do something.
Just
to
do
keep
something
you going.
that keep you going, right? And also just being around people that, like I said, are hustlers and entrepreneurs and trying to get to the next level, because where you might be down, they might be doing something that's really powerful. Right? And I'll go and I'll support them, and then I'll feel like, boom, that just helped me pick up. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm just so thankful, Justine. You have just taught me so much just in this segment. We'll have to chat more about it later, because you just confirmed some things for me. Where can people get in contact with you if they want to learn about your work, learn about you? I'll also add it to the comment section so they can see it.
I'm Justine J. Hall everywhere. Justine JHALL. That's another lesson to be learned. Like wherever you are, try to make that the same thing for everybody, so everyone doesn't have different avenues to try to catch you. Because if you're an actor, they don't want acting John on one section and I Am Blessed on another section and John Stewart on another. One thing, so everybody can find you everywhere. So you can find me everywhere. You can find my website under Justine J. Hall, Twitter, Justine J. Hall, Instagram, Justine J. Hall, Facebook, Justine J. Hall. And I have a Journey to My Solo Show video that I do once a month. And I also have a newsletter that I put out once a month with things that I'm going through, things that I've learned. So if you just want to go on that journey with me, then feel free to come along.
Awesome. Well, yes, Justine, I just want to thank you so much for taking time to come down here and be on this show. This was an honor to have you here. We are going to take a quick break, and then I have a special tribute. We are going to come back in just a minute. Stick tight. This is the She Heals Radio Show with your host, Whitney J. Be right back. Welcome back. This is the She Heals Radio Show. I am your host, Whitney J. Again, it is Friday, July 5th, 2019. Thank you so much for being flexible as we had to start later today. There were some technical difficulties, but you know what? It is a blessing because it is confirmation of exactly what I was going to talk to you about during the She Heals inspiration segment. So it worked out perfectly. I just want to just give another special thanks to my cousin, Justine J. Hall, that joined us for the show. She is an amazing woman. And I mean, just her story about being willing to pick up and leave, you know, what was familiar to her to chase after what God had called her to do is powerful. And I hope that you were blessed by that segment. Now I want to switch in because I want to do a special tribute. And it's funny how things all tie together, even when it looks chaotic. You know, today is July 5th, and it is the anniversary of my husband's death. My husband, Steve, died 20 days before his 30th birthday back in 2012. So today is 7 years since he passed. And you know, I thought about, you know, I actually wasn't going to have the show today because I was like, oh, I don't know what kind of mood I'll be in. You know, maybe I'll take this week off. And I just felt God saying, no, there's a word here that I need you to give. And so I'm going to give it. And it has a couple layers. My husband had a rare lung disease, interstitial lung disease. He had a double lung transplant when he was 25. And he, was... he and I met after he had his transplant. We got married. We had our son, Kevin, and, you know, we were just living life. And he, you know, typically with transplanted organs, they say if you make it 5 years, that's like a really good, like, first benchmark to make. And 4.5 years after he had the transplant, he got sick, and we found out that there was lung rejection. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't want to focus on his death today. But, you know, he was sick for a year. And then I'll never forget, on July 3rd of 2012, I went to go see him. And there was a lot going on during that time. He was really sick. His mind was starting to kind of become unclear. You know, lack of oxygen, it messes everything up. And he was very confused and kind of incoherent sometimes. But that particular day, he was very calm and clear. And one of the things he said is, we were talking, it was just the two of us there. And he said, Whitney, you know, he said, you always have some fight in you. You know, even when, like, you're down and you're out and you feel like giving up, there's like this reserve fight that comes over you. Don't ever give that up. Never give up your faith or your fight. And, you know, he said some other things too. And that was just the thing that stuck out the most to me. And I remember, you know, him encouraging me to go to my family reunion. So my family reunion is on 4th of July. It is my favorite day of the year. So I'm not necessarily celebrating Independence Day because my people were not free on July 4th. But 4th of July, I celebrate my family, the Lee family. And so this year was our 71st annual family reunion. And so it is literally my favorite day before Christmas and all of that. I love my family reunion. We have such a good time together. And it's just something about it that does it for me. And so I never missed one. And that morning, July 4th of 2012, I got up and I had a plan. I was picking my little sister up from the airport, and I was going to see Steve in the hospital, and then I was going to go to my family reunion for a little bit. And I got a voicemail from a doctor, and he said, Mrs. Hogan's, please call me. It is very important. And I called him, and he said, listen, your husband, you know, had a seizure. He went into cardiac arrest, and he's on life support. And I remember just hearing the words, and I was just like, no. I just talked to him. I was just at the hospital last night. There's no way. And he said, no, there is way, you know. And so I remember my whole plan. That was the first time in my life I had ever missed a family reunion. My cousin came and got my kids, and my in-laws and I, and my aunt, we made our way to the hospital. And before you know it, it was just people everywhere. You know, our pastor was there, friends were there, family were there. And, you know, it was just really hard. And during that time, we were fasting. So one of our friends, or a group of our friends rather, has started this fast for Steve's healing. And the scripture was Psalms 118:17. It says, therefore, I will not die, but I will live and proclaim what the Lord has done. And that was the scripture we were fasting on. Me personally, I had been praying. I had been fasting. I was reading Job, and I was like explaining to Steve that this was his Job season and, you know, all of that. And so I remember after being at the hospital all day, we finally kind of just went home. And I went to Frederick, which is where my family reunion was and where my children were. And I spent the night at my aunt's house that night because I just needed to be someplace else. And that was the place that that's home for me. And I remember having this moment, they had set up a place for me and the kids to sleep. And, all my family was there. And, I just kind of started crying. And I'm like, God, what is happening? Like, you won't do this, the only thing I've ever wanted is my own family. Clearly, you wouldn't give it to me and take it away, God. You're not like that. Steve is probably the best person I've ever met in my entire life. He's such a good guy. He was a minister. He was just an upstanding man of integrity, amazing father, amazing friend, an amazing husband. Certainly, you're not going to allow him to die. And so I was crying out to God. And then I started to get angry. And I said to God, you're making a fool out of me. You got me reading Job, reading my Bible like I've never read it before, praying like I've never prayed before. You got me fasting like I've never fasted before, and reading this dumb scripture that says, therefore I will not die, but I will live and proclaim what the Lord has done. Like, how could you, how dare you make a fool out of me when you're about to rip my heart? And I heard God for the first time in an audible voice that moment, that night. And all he said was, it wasn't for him. Sometimes we think we know a situation and God is just preparing us for something different. And, it is perfect timing that today when we got to the studio, there was some technical difficulties and I had to change. I had to start 30 minutes later than I normally started. And anyone that knows me personally knows I'm an extremely punctual person and I like order and I like to be on time. And I get very stressed when things start happening out of how I expected it to. And, clearly at that point in time in my life took a turn. I was 25 years old. I had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, 2 boys. My 2-year-old had just been diagnosed with autism. I was working full time as a special ed assistant, and I was in school to become a special education teacher. How, God? How? But all that time that I was fasting and praying, thinking that I was doing this for Steve, God was increasing my stamina for more. He was getting me closer to him because he knew that I was going to need him more than ever. And so he was, increasing in me and he was strengthening me and he was preparing me for something that I didn't know that was coming. And I say that to say, you may think that something happens and it caught God by surprise. But please understand, he has prepared you and equipped you for everything that you are going through. You just don't know it. You just don't know it. My mother-in-law was a widow at 33. Her husband and my husband died the exact same ways, 20 years apart. He gave me a woman. He placed a woman in my life. I could have had any other mother-in-law in the world, but he gave me one who knew this particular battle, and she knew how to walk me through it. And not only did he give her to me, but he gave her a heart for me, that she'd be willing to come and to love on me through this transition of being a young widow and having small children and trying to maneuver life when you're still trying to establish yourself. And now you're trying to take care of your kids, plus manage your own grief. I always would say she is my Naomi and I am her Ruth. He gave me my in-laws, my brother and sister-in-laws who love me and my children. And that he gave us to each other. He gave me a family. My family is ride or die. My family, if I'm in something, we're all in something. My family that came, and my Aunt Bev that cooked food for Steve every single week when he was sick for a whole year. I knew I never had to worry about food. My dad that came and shifted things in his life to help me with my children. He sent the people. Everything that I needed, he provided to me up front to go through this. God never gives you something and doesn't give you the tools and the resources you need to overcome it and to get through it. He doesn't work like that. And so he gave me everything that I needed. He gave me some friends that have loved me and loved me well. And not only that, he imparted things in me to give out. And so even though I lost, I will always say that Stephen's death was also my rebirth at the same time, because God had to show me in that season what he made me of, because I didn't think I could live a moment without Steve. I didn't think that me and my kids would survive a minute without Steve. And here we are 7 years later. 7 years later, and we are doing well by the grace and the mercy and the favor of God. But also the things that Stephen implanted in us are still in us today. I want you to know that sometimes life will throw some things at you that you will never imagine. If you would have told me I would have been a widow at 25 years old, I would have never, ever thought of that. If you would have told me that the things that we would have had to go through and are currently going through, I would have never thought that I would have made it. Yet God's grace is sufficient for me. His power is made perfect in my weakness. And so you have to understand that no matter what God allows, he has a perfect plan. Not a haphazard plan, not a, kind of sort of put together plan. He's got a good plan, a perfected plan for us. And everything that Steve poured into me in our marriage was preparation for me to live without him. I think about the things that we talked about and how he would just speak life over me and prophesy to me. And I used to say, oh, that's cute. You're just saying that because, I'm your wife. You're just saying that I'm going to do these things and that God loves me. You're saying that because that's the thing you're supposed to say. But now I see the seeds he was planting in me. And I see the wisdom that he was showering over me. And he was giving me the steps. And God loved me so much that he met me where I was. I've shared this on the show before. I idolized my husband. I'm not ashamed to say that because I'm not there anymore, but I idolized him. Before I prayed about a situation, I asked him what we were going to do or what I should do. I thought about what he would think first before I thought about what God thought first. And God is so gracious that he knew that about me. And so then instead of just beasting and getting my attention, he would speak through Steve because he knew that's how he could get me to listen. What a God that I serve. What a God that we serve. He will meet you where you are and not where you need to be. But he gave me every single thing that I needed. He gave he continues to give our family everything that we need. And 7 years later, we miss Steve every day. There is never a time that we're not thinking about him. We're not loving him. We're not honoring him. But we are still here and we're still thriving and we're living and we're doing the best that we can. And that is a testament. And so we honor him by living and living well. We honor him by not complaining and being loving and kind. We honor him by being who God called us to be unapologetically. We honor him by not taking life for granted. So there is so much good out of what was traumatic. Oftentimes we get so caught up on what happened and we don't have eyes to see the whole picture. And I know that during this process, I've had to pray often, Lord, help me to see the whole picture, not just my hurt. Help me to see the whole picture, not just my broken heart. Help me to see the whole picture, not just my frustration. Help me to see everything. And slowly but surely, God has been showing me, Whitney, I never left you. And this wasn't done to harm you. But Steve has done his work and he has earned his heavenly reward. He's good. I need you to be good. I need your children to be good. I need your family to be good. I have some work that I need you to do. And so I am all submitted. You can't really see my shirt on this live, but shout out to Jacqueline Small. She's an amazing minister. She has a beautiful ministry called Joy, and it stands for Jesus Over Yourself. Will you choose to give your life to God over your life? Over the things that you thought were going to happen, over how you thought it was going to look or how you thought things were going to be? I know it's difficult, but you got to stay in there and you got to fight it. But you also have to be honest. This morning I woke up and I was not okay. I was in my feelings. I was missing my husband. I was missing the life that we had. I was mourning the life that we could have had. I was thinking about, would he be proud of me? Would he be proud of the kids? I was thinking about a lot of things. And I didn't try to make myself feel better. I took a moment and allowed myself to be present in that moment and to have those feelings. And then I gave those feelings to God because our feelings are not facts. You may feel alone. That doesn't mean you are alone. You may feel unloved. That does not mean you are unloved. And so I said, God, this is how I'm feeling. I'm giving that to you. Your will be done. And the peace that came over me and that has been over me throughout this day has been absolutely amazing. So you got to understand that God sometimes allows heartbreaking things to happen, but he does not do it to hurt you. There is a plan. One of the things, as I'm getting ready to close out the show, that is the most important to me to know about Steve is his legacy. Steve was a man that was sold out for God, and he was not looking for your approval. He loved God. He respected and loved people, but he was who he was unapologetically. And, a friend of mine shared about at the funeral that she was struggling, as the funeral was getting ready to begin. And she was saying how, I was looking for my miracle. Like, God, where's my miracle? You told me there was going to be a miracle. And she said she looked out and she saw all the people that had shown up for Steve. And God showed her that that was the miracle. 7 years later, there are still things that Steve says and that he did that blessed people, and that they're still being blessed by it. What will your life legacy be? If the only thing that you have that you can show for your legacy is how many likes you have on Instagram, or the material things that you have, if that's all that you have to give and to show, you are lacking. I want to be known for who I was. I want to be known for my love for God. I want to be known for how I made people feel. I want to be known for those things, not the other things that are, just trivial and really don't matter at the end of the day. I want to be known. I want people to know that I loved God and I loved his people. Steve left this earth and people knew him and knew who he was and whom he served and who he loved. Let's focus on living our lives like that. All these other things are great. Having a great life and a great house and nice cars, and all of those things are cool. But have some integrity. Have a legacy to live on after you are gone. Be who you are. Be who God called you to be. Don't be ashamed or back down to appease any other person, but live the life that God called you to live, period. That was my takeaway from Steve. Be direct, be focused, be determined. All that time he was sick, I never heard him complain. He wasn't mean or nasty. He focused. He prayed. I'm sure that he had anxiety and fear and things. He's human just like anybody else. But he was focused on God. He was focused on his family, and he lived well. Are you living well? Are you just going through the motions of life? Are you just here and just whatever? Or are you living well intentionally? Are you saying to yourself, I'm going to conquer this day? You know what? I may have a moment and I may be down, but I'm not going to be out all the time. And I'm going to be who I am. I'm going to live this day like it's my last day. I'm not going to take life for granted. I'm going to forgive and ask for forgiveness. I'm going to love and embrace being loved. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to see the glass as half full, not half empty. I'm going to be careful with my words because words are a gift. I'm going to be careful with my actions because it's a gift to be alive. I'm going to be careful with my time because time is a gift. I'm going to live well because there are people that would give anything to live. There are people that are living physically but dead spiritually and emotionally. So we have to live well. And living well, your first step is a relationship with Jesus Christ. I don't know if you know him, but I know him. And I know that my life was nothing before him, and my life has never been the same since he's come into it. And I'm telling you, if you give your life to him, he ain't looking for perfection. He's looking for submission. He's not looking for you to know everything and have everything. He's looking for you to know where to go, which is to him. If you give your life to him, all you have to say is, I'm a sinner. You have to acknowledge that you're not perfect. Acknowledge your mistakes. Acknowledge that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, that he gave his life for your sins, and ask him to be saved, and it is done. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be easy all the time, but there is nothing you are going through that he cannot help you through. There is nothing that you are going through that he cannot love you through, that he will not get you through. Nothing. There was a time that I didn't think I was going to be able to get out the bed, and I get out the bed every day thankful. Yes, I have my moments where the grief hits, but it doesn't kill me. It doesn't cripple me. There are things that God has allowed to happen that I could not have imagined in my life. I am so thankful for who he is. And I know I would not have made it without him. I implore you to get connected to him. And if you strayed away, get reconnected. He's waiting. And it doesn't matter how far you strayed or what you did. The moment you come back, his heart is full and filled. Love him. Love yourself. Love others. And let's live life to the best of our abilities. Let's not take anything for granted. Stephen, I love you. There is a part of my heart that is always reserved for you. I will never forget you. I will honor you. I thank you for the life that you provided for me and our kids during the time you were here. I thank you for your example. And no matter where life takes me, I will always remember you and honor you. As we close out the show today, I pray that you were encouraged to step out in your dreams. I pray that you were encouraged to keep going when it hurts. I pray that you were encouraged that even when life throws curveballs, that you can trust God and trust the process because he is there. He has not left you. He has not forgotten you. He loves you. Come back to him. He's there. He's waiting. I pray that you had an amazing time this week. You know, today there's been a lot of opposition, but opposition is just confirmation that you're in the will of God. This month in July, the She Heals radio show will be turning 1 year old. I am super excited that we have been on this journey now for almost a year, and I just cannot wait to celebrate. This is an honor to be a part of Awesome God Radio. It is an honor that God chose me, and I am so thankful. Shout out to my producer, Quincy. You just rolling through the punches with me. I know I can be a lot at times because I do like things a certain way. God is still working with me on that. But thank you, Quincy, just for rising to the occasion with this producer, job. This is not easy, and he is doing it well, and not just doing it well for somebody that's 12. He's doing it well, period. And so I'm just thankful for that. Special shout out to all of my family. I love you guys. I pray that you are all comforted today. And I am just thankful. My heart is so full. It may seem like I'm all over the place today, but my heart is so full. It is so full, and I thank you, and I love you, and thank you for tuning into the show. In closing, she thinks, she feels, she cries, she hurts. She gets weighed down. She gets run down. She prays. She fasts. She trusts. She cries out. She strengthens. She encourages herself and others. She loves. She forgives. She perseveres. And ultimately, she heals. This is the She Heals radio show with your host, Whitney J. Have a blessed week.